don't know. There's BBC One. I don't know. Nobody knows right now. Sorry. Oh, Mr. White. Sorry.
Well, that's okay, no worries. So it's all, yeah, it's all be a favour to a bit of chaos at the moment, ain't it? Unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame, really.
Yeah.
So, actually, no, I quite enjoyed it. I think your character played more of a role in Quantum of Solace, because obviously the opening scene of that, that was really quite a good opener. Yeah, it was a very darker sort of look at your character as well, wasn't it? We didn't really see it in the first thing Casino Royale, did we? And all of a sudden it just went completely dark and he was like one of the central characters.
No, actually, I thought it was going places.
Yeah.
Sort of the character.
Did you enjoy doing that?
Yeah, I did.
So it's just good. No, it's good.
Where?
It's a good question. I was asking you.
That's important. Don't let me influence you, but most people have it up there.
Yeah.
Depends if you're putting it in a frame. If you put it in a frame.
Yeah, we're doing it in a frame. Yeah. If you could just do it up there, that'd be great. Actually, you're the first person who's asked us that. You get a frame, that. Usually they just sign away, don't they? So it'd be great. So do you do a lot of training? How many times do you have to train for that?
Actually, no. I'm average of 6 hours per day.
Really? Oh, that's hectic.
I'm like this when I prepare something.
Yeah.
When there is something going on,
You do the weights as well, or is you just kind of
no, but I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to do more.
Yeah.
Not weight to gain muscle, but weight to gain strength.
Strength, yeah, a bit of power. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Are you in any other films doing choreography?
That's why I prepare myself. It's a secret now.
Oh, is it?
You've got some secret info now. It's like,
oh, is it right?
I can't tell more.
Oh, right, yeah. I understand. That's right. That's good.
Yeah.
It was a good one, so I thought.
Right. We have Have we got that? Or have we sold them?
Which one?
We sold them.
It's part of my fact. That's why I thought
We have a sort of variation.
No, we sold them one, I think, yesterday.
I think so,
So what a good thing you bought your own.
yes, just in case.
Yeah. Do you want a name on it?
No, just sitting there. Fantastic. But it was a good experience working with Sean on that.
Always a good experience to work with Sean.
But especially that one scene, I think was quite interesting. Because you saw
Because it wasn't...
getting back at him as well, wasn't you?
I'm sorry?
He was getting back at him as well, which was unusual, wasn't it, at the time?
What do you mean, that I was fighting?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that was what's so good about that character. She wasn't a bimbo. She was really quite something. It would have been lovely to play her in any kind of film.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't apply somebody, doesn't it? It takes one look at Mark and falls flat on the back. And there's people like it. Yeah.
And was it alright for the first one?
Yeah. In German films. That's why I don't think they met him. They watched him in German films, were very impressed, and the agent said that he spoke very good English. And actors always say that, you know, do you ride a horse? Yes, do this, the other. I was nearly killed by a guy who said he rode a motorbike and I had to ride side by side with him, and he'd never ridden a motorbike till the day before. And nearly killed me. Anyway, so and when he arrived in England to shoot the picture, he said, how nice to be here. And they thought, well, that's not too bad, you know. And that was about all he knew. Yeah, but we all do that sort of thing. But afterwards, I mean, he did have a tutor with him, and so he was beginning to learn. And I think when he did
started Goldfinger having just come off the Avengers.
Yeah.
And both in the Avengers and Goldfinger, you did quite a lot of sort of action scenes. Was that an ongoing process, learning that skill, doing sort of karate and doing stunts and so on?
Well, I only ever did karate chops. I did judo, of course, because, I mean, what people don't realise about the Avengers was that we shot it with one commercial break. So, you'd play a scene with somebody and then tear off, change your clothes. Most of the time you were putting your clothes on as you ran. Carry on. Thank you.
Next guest, the next conference will start in a few minutes. It will be Shirley Eaton, Tanya Ladd and Margaret Nolan.
You go to No, actually, because we didn't come yesterday.
Oh, you did?
No, we went to the dinner thing with Richard.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And that was good?
Yeah, it was interesting. Yeah, it was good, yeah. And so, because we got here late, we couldn't really get our time for it. Which was a shame, because it's a nice
It
one.
was wonderful too.
Yeah, I mean, it was, people were talking like that.
Yeah,
since,
yeah.
How, Charlie's was talking to him. So, yeah. Have you got change? Yeah, oh, that's right. So you did it?
Hold on, my brain only works with one thing at a time. That's fine. Sorry.
It's in, that's right, it's early in the morning as well.
Take your camera with you?
Yeah.
Peter Rankin, and I'm the chap who helped Lewis Gilbert on his autobiography, which will be on sale and you can sign it, and Lewis will sign it for you after the event. So I'm just going to ask Lewis some questions about James Bond, and I'll start right away. So, Lewis, you directed 3 James Bonds, didn't you?
3, yes.
Which were...
Let me think. I've only directed 40 films, so Bond's not the greatest part of my life, really. But they were all very, very successful, as all Bonds are very successful. So I can't claim very much there, but it's very, very lovely to be here and to talk. It's always nice to talk about Bonds because they're part of everybody's life, really. I suppose there's not many people in the world who have not seen a Bond film. I mean, it's unbelievable. I think it's about 22 now, or I think it's been 22 or 23. So it goes around the world very easily. I wish my other films would get a picture.
So the 3 Bonds were You Only Live Twice, The Spy Who Loved Me, and Moonraker.
Did I do it?
Yes, you did.
That's 3 of the best.
And the story starts with, in Lewis's Lewis asked him what he was up to at that time. Can you continue with that?
Well, I would if I remembered it. But,
You asked him what he was doing at that time, because he just arrived in London.
yes, and he was with a weightlifting team.
That's right.
Yes, that's right. That's the first time I saw Sean. He was a member of a weightlifting team. And after that, I didn't know what had happened to him, but I was captain of the show business team, and suddenly football, and suddenly Sean appeared. And jolly good he was too. He was a very, very good footballer, as he is a very physical sort of chap on everything he does, really. The bonds for me were very easy because everything had been done before. And all I had to do was to repeat the dose, which wasn't very difficult, really. But people are very impressed when you say, I directed 3 Bond films, but in fact it's not very marvellous because it's all done for you and it's not a very difficult thing to do. So if anybody fancies directing a Bond film, it's not very difficult.
But when Cubby Broccoli first rang you up to ask you if you do the first Bond, you gave him an answer, which was to do with Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah.
Yes. You said, why should I do this?
Why do you?
Yes, why should I do this? Because I would be like Elizabeth Taylor's 5th husband.
Oh yes, that's right, I did say that, yes.
And so, which means that I could do it,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't know how to make it different.
Oh, that's right, yes. Fancy me forgetting a good gag like that. In fact, it's so good, I think I'll repeat it. In case I didn't get it the way you read it. So, yes, I said that they asked me what I wanted to do with it. I said, well, I don't think there's anything in it for me. It's a bit like being Elizabeth Taylor's 5th husband, who obviously said, I know what to do, but I don't know how to make it different. And that was very, very much my feelings about Bond films. You can't make them different, really. I mean, because the public go to see them for a certain amount of things that they enjoy in a Bond film, which is fairly unique in the cinema, really. I mean, usually when you get a big number of films like Bonds, which is 21, 22 or 3, then it's very, very unusual because sometimes in the old days with small films, they did get lots of MGM was running dozens of these small films every week as they went down to second features. But with Bond, I've travelled a lot making films all over the world, and then nobody's interested in other films that you made. As soon as you say Bond, it goes down, it's unbelievable how everybody knows Bond and how everybody loves it. And they are unique, really, which is something very special.
When you were filming You Only Live Twice in Japan, I remember you had quite a lot of trouble over press attention for Sean Connery, and you had a solution to that, which didn't quite turn out to be.
One of the problems in Japan is that everybody has a camera to kick off with. And for poor Sean, everywhere he went, he literally couldn't go anywhere without being photographed. Out would come the cameras, whack, whack, and finally he said, I just can't do it. I said, well, what we'll do, I'll get 12 bodyguards and we'll put them around and make sure that they keep everybody away from you. Oh, good. He said, oh, well, let's try that. So we did, and the first morning we lined up 6 on either side of the car, as it were, and it was... Sean was quite happy. He got out of the car smiling, and he walked down the two lines of bodyguards, and he only got halfway when every bodyguard whipped out a camera and started filming. So that was jolly difficult, and Sean wasn't amused. No, he wasn't amused. It's very hard to live like that, where everybody's photographing you. It was very hard for him. But he stood up very well.
And to cheer him up, you organised a football match between the film crew and a local Japanese team.
That's right.
And Cubby Broccoli wasn't very happy.
No, he said, oh, don't Sean's not playing this. I said, look, Sean will be furious if he tells me he can't play. Of course he can play. It's only a friendly game. Nothing's going to happen to Sean. What's going to happen? So we started to play. Cubby being Cubby, sent to England for sets of jerseys, sets of socks and shirts, and football boots and everything. So we started to play, and we played for 5 minutes when a chap who's quite small banged into Sean, who's quite large, and down he went, and of course he twisted his ankle. And Cubby wasn't best pleased with that, because he then had to wear plaster cast for quite a few weeks after that, and we could only film him halfway. So there were no more football matches.
Now, in order to find, you went in search of a building on the coast of Japan that was supposed to stand in for Blofeld Villain's headquarters, and you did this, Lewis did this in helicopters, and there was one particular helicopter driver.
Well, we had 2 helicopters, one for the cameramen and one for me and something else.
Freddie Young?
Yeah, Freddie Young, the photographer. Yeah. And they were always putting in our legs. Our helicopter had very old drivers with them. And finally, we landed in some place, and we went out to our respective helicopters, and my helicopter, the chap opened the door, and he got in, and he didn't seem to know where anything was, and he asked the man to help him, and the chap pointed at all these, and it was, I must say, we got very nervous, because the chap who was going to fly our helicopter didn't seem to have any idea whatsoever. So of course the other helicopter, they were laughing, enjoying every minute of it, but we didn't enjoy it much. But this old boy, he must have been 80, got in and he was amazing. He was a beautiful little dog, and whatever we asked him to do, he did perfectly. So you can't go on age either in flying helicopters.
But then he turned to you and said something.
Yes, that's right. Yes, the end of the story is, of course, when I congratulated him, I said, very good, very good. And he looked at me and he said, me, kamikaze. In the war, he'd been a kamikaze pilot, so there we were, with a living kamikaze pilot. So I don't understand how he was still alive at Britain. So that didn't go down too well with us, but he was very good actually, and he was a good flight.
And you didn't find that big building because it wasn't practical. It was a daft idea to have big buildings because it was too vulnerable. So nevertheless, something caught your eye when you were in the helicopter, which was the extinct volcano.
Yeah. Which suddenly I got, and I can take credit for that, so I will. You'll be surprised to hear. As we were flying around this volcano, which was round and was half filled with water, and it's funny because when Commander Wallace was here just before me, I said to him, well, you know, can he try it once for me? And he did. He started to go round and round, and then I said, tell him to come out, and then back it came. He can't get out because there's no lift, and he was stuck going round the rim all the time below the thing, which was very, very, very dangerous. And I was getting, I was chewing my nails because I you know, in my life as a soldier, I've killed a few people, and that's part of the job. And this was a wing commander who was very, very take off with the wind, he'd still in the street, he'd do everything we asked him, however dangerous it was for him. And he was really great. It was lovely to see him just now, to thank him for all that he did on the film. He was really great.
And there was an actress in the film, Mia Harmer, who played one of the Bond girls, and she had trouble learning English. Then what happened?
Well, we had the same problem with her. She was never going to learn English. She had these English that you could understand. And we said that this is impossible. And she'd have to go home. The man who was already cast, Tetsuro Tamba, he was a Japanese actor, very famous in Japan. And I said to him, you must help me here and help me to send her back. And he looked at me and he said, you know, if I say that to her, that she must go home, she will commit suicide. Oh my God, so I decided, well, she commits suicide, there'll be no Bond in Japan, they'll never give us permission. And so we said, you know, her English is not so bad, that's it. We'll struggle with her. And we did struggle with her, we struggled with her all the time. And when the film was over and finished with, we were able to take her voice off and an English girl.
Yes, Nicky Van der Sil, some of you may know.
Was jolly good at that sort of thing. She was faint Japanese accent, but she did the whole film for this girl, who came out of the film with wonderful notices in Japan and different places, although she didn't. It wasn't her voice on the track at all. That was a very, very close shave, very near miss, that we were not going to make the film in Japan. Very, very close.
Harry Saltzman, who was the other producer along with Cubby Broccoli, now he never cast the actor who was to play villain until the last minute. And so then they were, a few days before you needed your Blofeld at Pinewood Studios, and then somebody appeared, an actor, the Czech actor, Jan Berich. Yes, and you said he looked like Father Christmas.
Oh yes, that's right, because Harry had gone to America to cast this part, and he brought this man over from America, and we only saw him the day we were going to shoot with him. Well, he was supposed to be the arch villain, and he looked like Father Christmas. I mean, it was just the stupidest, absolute worst bit of casting in the entire history, you know, it was just really ridiculous. So, anyway, we started to see English people who could fake a bit of an accent, and we got one.
But what happened was that it was at the weekend that this guy left, and they were starting on Monday.
Yes.
And so they spent the weekend looking through Spotlight like you were doing a rep company, and then found that Donald Pleasance just happened to be available because he'd finished the film.
That's right. And a very competent actor, so we didn't worry too much about him. Mind you, in all films, in Bond films or any film, if a chap doesn't look villainous enough, there's always the one certain way that somebody's going to come up with. Why don't we put a scar on his face? And that's what we did. We put a scar on his face that made Donald Pleasance a bit more villainous. But I don't think that wasn't 100% successful. And then Harry Saltzman finished after that. He left the Bond series. Or they did some sort of deal together, didn't they? And he withdrew with quite a few bob, and Cubby stayed on his own, which was made life much easier for the director, because Cubby was a very, very nice guy to work with, whereas Harry was always very difficult.
So when you returned to James Bond, which was 10 years later, Roger Moore had done 2 James Bonds. You looked at them and you thought, aha, something's not quite right here about Roger in the Bonds, which was that you thought that his strength was comedy. Roger Moore.
Oh yes. Well, fun enough, I had lunch with Roger yesterday which he paid, and which I'm out has been rather unusual. And, but he was a lovely man, Roger. Really, really, really lovely man. Thoroughly enjoyable to work with. Really decent guy. But, no, we were lucky actually that Harry Saltzman withdrew, because he was always complaining, he was difficult. Whereas Cubby is always very helpful and very, very kind and lovely to work with. And I believe I haven't worked with them, but I believe they're present to carry on that tradition. Barbara Broccoli and who are the present holders of the job. And I'm nothing to do with it anymore. And but they have a nice reputation too. Thank God I didn't drink that one. It's wonderful this ink because it doesn't smudge.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it?
Yeah,
Thanks very much. No, just write your name. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Do you regret not doing any more than just the one, or?
Once upon a time when I was broke, I did, yeah.
Oh yeah, alright. Yeah. I mean, if you had a chance, would you have gone back? If, you know.
I had the chance, and I didn't go back, and in that respect, I probably would have done too.
Yeah. What about the Bruce Lee project as well?
Yeah.
Game of Death.
Well, he died on me.
Yeah, that was a bit of a shame, wasn't it?
Jimi Hendrix was doing music on a movie for me, and he died on me.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so you not having much
that was
fun?
bad news.
Bad news. Everything there as well.
Yeah.
Quite a fitting photograph, really. Yeah. It's interesting because I recognised, I didn't realise you had done Scott Tracy at Thunderbirds. Am I right? Yeah. Because it was only when I was watching Diamonds Are Forever and I heard your voice saying the satellite's going over something. I thought, hang on a minute, that's Scott Tracy. And when I saw you in Spy Lovely, I put it together and it just clicked. But yeah, I never knew that before until I watched it.
Pinned I was, yeah.
Yeah, so you only had a small role in Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah, well, they're there.
That's, Oh, you only in Charles as well? Yeah, of course.
Radio operator.
Yeah, so your bigger role was the Spy Lovely, yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
How would you like this sign?
I think just put your name on that, that'd be great.
The name of the part?
Yeah, that'd
and
be
the
great,
character?
yeah, excellent, yeah.
Is blue alright? Or do you want silver?
Whatever you think's right. I don't know.
Suits you.
Yeah, no.
Okay. No, black.
Oh no.
But that's a big space. You want to read
here.
that.
Alright.
See what the weekend's doing?
I get it at home, I get it when I get out.
So, would you like to, say if you offered a cameo role in the new films, would you come back as a little cameo?
In what?
No, new Bond films. Yes, definitely.
Is that an offer?
Well, no, I wished it was. Whoa. If I was that winning tune, right? Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Just be a bit. This silver ink takes a little longer.
Oh, that's fine. No worries.
So just.
Oh yeah, please, actually, well, I mean, I've got this. I was fortunate enough to have this little thing, so that the sticky thing keeps on Yeah, oh yeah.
Don't put it in quite yet, baby.
Dry, yeah. Fantastic.
Okay.
As it was your only acting role when you returned to modelling, was that because it wasn't an experience that necessarily fitted with what you wanted from your career, as enjoyable as it probably was?
I wanted to try making movies, obviously. It's sort of the next step or on a side step, but I didn't really like it. I'm not an early morning person. And no, modelling suited me much better. And so I went back to it.
And I was talking to Honor earlier about doing her own stunts. You were killed by a flying bowler hat.
Yes, I was.
So when it came to shooting that scene, how involving was it to sort of be in the right place to fall over dramatically and so on and so forth?
Well, the hat wasn't thrown from very far.
Okay.
There is such thing as cutting movies. So the hat was thrown at me, and it was thrown, I can't remember now, 100 and something times, and each time I had to jerk my head like that. And for about 3 weeks afterwards, I was pretty stiff.
Well, conversely, Shirley, your death scene is one of the most iconic in cinema, so I suppose that must have been very much a double-edged sword, that you knew that you would be this figure of attention lying naked on a bed covered in gold. And so while that's something that has remained in people's minds for the next 40-odd years, at the time, was it something that you were quite comfortable in doing?
Yes. I had never been photographed naked before, and I actually wasn't naked, but anyway, I had a titty-wee thing we'd call thongs now, and I had two things on my breast just so when I walked on the set I wasn't completely showing everything. No, you know, people don't understand unless you're an actress or a model, that we go to work and we do a job. Now, I knew it was pretty unusual, let me say, obviously, but I'd made 21 films before Goldfinger. So, the old trooper in me, you know, I started in the theatre at 12. My first film was when I was 16. So when I asked him, was it special? Yes, it was special. Was it unusual? Yes, it was unusual. But it was a day's work. And you never know, like a popular song or a wonderful book, when you make these films, because Goldfinger is the classic Bond film. I'm not just saying because us two were in it, it's just everything. Everything was just went right in Goldfinger. It's a very, very special film. So, no, I didn't have... It was exciting, yes. I would say, when I think back now, it was exciting. I didn't remember until I saw some stills a little while ago that after they finished the shot of me in the gold bed, on the bed, that, you know, there was like, the set was absolutely full of photographers, and I had forgotten that that's what happened. It was so sensational. And there was a lovely actor called Graham Starr, who was a comedy actor. People know Graham Starr? Anybody? Yeah. Who was a great pal of Sean, and Sean apparently went, and he was making another film at the same time in the same studio, and he went over, Sean went over to Graham and said, "Cheers, doing the Goldfinger today, do you want to come on the set?" Because it was a closed set. Do you know what I mean? When I say closed set, nobody was allowed there except just all the technicians and everybody. And so it was special, yes.
Although Margaret Nolan, who isn't with us today, she recreated the same shot for Damien titles and publicity. Was that something in your contract that you would just do it the once and then someone else would
No,
take it?
that's rather a mystery. It's all remained a mystery. She didn't actually she didn't want that. She did the titles, which were gorgeous. She didn't do the same shot.
Okay.
It was never, ever the same shot. She did a lying down shot, but it wasn't the same. You know what I mean? And if you know me, because we've got totally different figures, you'd know it wasn't me on some of the posters, and some of the posters aren't, and some of them are Margaret. No, I rushed off. I was on Goldfinger for a week, and then I rushed off to do a film in Greece, so I never really understood, unless, well, I didn't do it, but then I thought I was just using natural intelligence. If I was looking dead, when you knew it was me on the titles, it gives the whole thing away, doesn't it? So, whatever. And she did it wonderfully well, so it's fine.
Well, I suppose it wasn't exactly accidental. We were cast as sisters, so it's hardly accidental, is it?
Did you keep in touch after the making of the film?
No, because I went off back to modelling and Shirley went on acting.
American and German that's sort of been released. Nothing.
Sometimes they are the more rewarding roles, aren't they? You know, the smaller ones sometimes.
Oh, they're smaller. Yeah, they certainly can be. And with the big films, they can be pretty boring to make.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
If you
always there.
That's right. Yeah. So big parts in big movies are great, but small parts in big movies are pretty boring.
Self-esteem is like, it's probably getting more out of it.
Yeah, and hanging around. I mean, you know, in the big movies, the money is great, but that's why you put up with it.
Yeah, that's true. We just trying to figure out to get silence. Yeah, probably this one looks quite good. That one's more of a bigger coat. Yeah, this one's got a bigger coat. I might go for this one. So this one, yeah, I think this one. If you could sign that for me.
What would you like me to write?
Just if you could put your name and that'd be great.
Okay. Like?
Yeah. Oh, right, that's nicely simple, isn't it?
That's all?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's great.
You got it.
Is it alright if we take a photograph?
By all means.
Okay.
Did I suffer one once? And I really think we're coming about having
Is there any chance we can have a photograph as well?
Hello, can you hear us? Yeah? Oh, they're not. Who you can't? I think Wimbledon Theatre's about the site. Yes, it is. Wimbledon Theatre's about the site.
And you normally do that on ramification, do you, Wimbledon Theatre? Is that one of the ones that you just felt?
We both done Wimbledon Theatre, not together, but...
Before we get going, let me just explain. When we get to the Q&A and open for questions to the floor, if you've got a question, put your hand up and keep it up until you've got the mic, because we don't want delays in moving the mic around. When someone's got the mic, they'll finish their question, and we'll take it to someone else who's now got their hand up, ready for the next one. So even if someone's answering a question and you want to get one in, get your hand up till you've got the mic. Okay? Well, thank you very much this afternoon. We're joined by Edith Gayson and Madeline Smith, who have one thing in common. They were each the first Bond girl for their respective Bonds.
That's right.
The very first Bond girl of all here with Mr. Sean Connery and
Dr. No.
In Dr. No, and Roger Moore's the very first Bond girl.
Roger, in Live and Let Die. Wonderful. Yep. One of the first scenes they shot, actually. You know that better than me. It's just on. I hope it isn't on, is it?
It is on. You need to be a little closer, that's all. Gentleman over there was just saying, couldn't quite hear you.
Can you hear? Now, I just made a film with the director, Terence Young, of Dr. No from Russia with Love, and he had wanted me to do a running gag for the first 6 films, and the idea being that in the 6th film, I would marry Bond. Bond would marry me, obviously, and then the story would develop onto another series with another actor. Well, as it happened, Sean did not do 6 films before he left. He had other offers. And Terence Young also left, and I was stuck in The Sound of Music, and I was disappointed because we had this running gag, I don't know if you remember it, that we would get together, and just as we were really getting together, he's always bleeped away, and he would go off, and this would be a running gag throughout the first 6 films, and then I would marry him and we would be together forever and I. Anyway, all that happened all those years ago, and you know what a great success with all the different actors and all the directors coming in didn't want any preconceived ideas of what should happen with the development of the films other than the ones that they are specifically directing at that time. So, end of story.
That's good acting. It must have been good acting because she thought you did.
No, I mimed it. Now you're silver.
Whatever you think's best, yeah. That's
Do you want me to put your name?
No, if you could just stick to your names, yeah, that'd be great, yeah. So I bet it was an amazing experience when it worked on the film. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to see you back again. Interesting.
You want that one? They're 20 or 2 for 30.
Oh. Steve, not unless you want one.
What's that?
Do you want an autograph? It's two for £30. Yeah, okay, yeah.
And would you like your name in here?
Oh no, if you just put yours and George and something like that, that'd be great, yeah. So how would you like to, say if they brought your character back, how would you like it to progress from Moonmaker? Like settled down and retired, or still?
Well, you know, I would think that it would have to be blunt, you know, with little toddlers and a baby buggy, you know.
Yeah. I actually pictured that, like Jaws actually moving on and settling down and getting rid of the Hitler thing. So I think that would be,
you know, maybe the villains are chasing Bond through the shopping mall. Jaws season.
Yeah, that's it.
Sticks out his foot.
I think that'd be pretty cool actually. He should come back for a cameo.
Yeah.
No, it's here.
Wait for some audio. Here we go. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Moonraker panel with Richard Kiel and Blanche Ravelec. I'm sure you remember as the beautiful lovers, the Romeo and Juliet of that movie.
Why don't you stand up?
Hello.
Stand up, Blanche. First of all, how are you doing this afternoon? How's it going for you this weekend?
It's been good. It's a pleasant surprise that have so many Bond fans turn out, because the time when you do a first show, which this was, it doesn't always work out this great. And I've done a few where nobody showed up, you know, because nobody knew what was happening, what was going to happen. And they did a good job of getting it on the radio and TV.
Yes.
And I'm glad, you know, that all the fans were able to find out about it, because they have this many Bond people here in one spot. It's been wonderful to see old friends.
Oh, it's true.
And we saw Louis Gilbert
I was
today.
touched to see him again, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was a wonderful opportunity to see him.
And Deborah Moore, Roger's
For Moonraker to start, I would like to ask you both about how you both got involved in the industry. So Richard, first of all, how did you start out in cinema?
Well, how did I break into the movies?
Mm-hmm.
I just right now. No, it was rather difficult, particularly because I was trying to get started during the writer's strike, and so they weren't doing new shows. And so I told a lot of people what I wanted to do, and I finally gave up and I got a regular job selling reverberation units for Hammond organs for the Pennsylvania Music Company. They sold Steinway grand pianos and Hammond organs. I was doing really well and had a nice new station wagon to drive. And one day I got a call there at Penny Osley. Is this Richard Kiel? And I said, yeah. And the guy said, Pinot Spawn said you were pretty big. How big are you? And I said, I'm 7'2". How much you weigh? I said, about 320. He said, oh, you'd be perfect. He said, how'd you like to work in a television pilot? And I said, how much does it pay? And I said, $100 a day. I thought, wow, that's great. At that time, it's 1970, and in America, $100 a week was a good wage. So to get $100 for one day's work was really good. But I went down to meet the guy, and typical Hollywood con man, it wasn't going to be a pilot. At first it was going to be a test, testing 3 leading men. And I had to fight with 3 guys that were trying out to be the leading man in a TV series called The Phantom, based on the comic strip character. And then the guy told me that he wasn't going to pay me for doing the test. Oh, maybe when we did the pilot, but he would give me the film. But anyway, I figured, well, that's the start. And then he said, there's one more thing. We have this guy whose parents invested in the pilot. And he's really good. And I said, he's the stuntman for Bob Hope in all of Bob Hope's movies. And we want him to come off really, really well. So we'd like for you to go out and work out with him doing stunts on the weekend before. So I kind of thought, well, if he looks good, maybe I'll look good too. And I worked out with the guy and learned a lot of stunt techniques. And he looked terrific then in the tests. And lo and behold, the sponsors like me and the network like me, and I ended up getting the role of a lead heavy in a television show. That's how I got started.
What's your breaking in story then, Brian?
So the first time I was acting, it was just after the theater courses I was following. As I didn't know anybody in the industry, I bought the Film Français, was a newspaper where all information about the job were, and I saw that Michel Lang, who was a director, was making his second film, preparing the second movie. And as I knew that his first movie was a great success, I thought that maybe he would remember that he was unknown before that first success, and he will maybe give me my chance. So I tried to get an appointment. I didn't get it. So I took the address of the production. I went there, and I made as if I was running and was late to the appointment, and I said to the woman who was there at the entrance, "Oh, quick, tell me where is Michel Lang, I have to meet him, I'm very late." And she said, "What's your name?" I said, "Blanche Ravalec. Please tell me where he is, I'm very late, he will be furious after me." So she said, "Okay, second door on the right." And so I knocked at the door. He was there with his assistant and an actor. And he said, "Okay, you wait outside until I'm finished." And when the guys went out, I entered my turn, and he said, "We have an appointment." I said, "No." He said, "So, okay, I cannot talk with you because we have plenty of appointments and I have no time. You have to call first." And I said, "No, because if I call, they won't give me an appointment because I have done nothing until now. I'm a beginner, and when you are a beginner, they ask you to have done something first. So now I'm here, you will listen to me, and probably you have something for me. You have to give me my chance. And he said that I have nothing for you. And I told him, look, so you surely have something for me. And I said, remember when you began, it was not so long ago, you were happy that people gave you a chance, so now it's time to do the same for somebody else. And so he smiled and said, okay, but the only part I have for your age is the servant, but she has to be from Brittany, because the film will be done in Brittany, and we just plan to take an actress in Brittany. And I said, look how lucky I am. I am just from Brittany, and I can go there. I look like a Briton. I am from Brittany. And so he gave me my part, the part, and from then I went on. Then I had the second film with Gérard Maury, La Carapate, who was a success too, and where hopefully Louis Gilbert saw me and Richard Kiel, and that's how they decided to propose me to be Dolly in Moonraker. That was the beginning.
So, Richard, of course, you're a very unusual Bond villain because you're in more than one Bond movie. And as I understand it, the original plan was to actually have that shark eat you.
Yeah, I was supposed to die, like all the villains in the Bond films. But the stunt coordinator, Bob Simmons, well, first of all, let me back up. Kevin Broccoli would have a weekly department head meeting and let people come up with any ideas that might be good to be able to do the film better or to save money. And Bob Simmons piped up and said, Cubby, what about bringing Jaws back? He said, oh, well, we always kill the villain off. You see, wouldn't it have been nice to be able to bring Oddjob back to do another film? He said, well, yeah, but Jaws gets thrown in a tank with a shark. What do you propose that happens? He said, he kills the shark. You gotta be, what? He said, Bob was telling me this, he said, I don't know. He said, and Bob said, well, why don't you film it both ways? And then that way you'll have a choice. You come and say, yeah, that's a good idea. Maybe we'll do that. And so they asked me if I could stay over until the whole movie was done, and they had everything finished, and they had enough money left to do this scene where I lived. And then going another 8 or 9 months into the future, I'm in California, and I get a call. They want me to come down to what they call the blue collar screening before the premiere and all that, kind of a test screening. And they said, we want you to not come until this time because we're going to bring you in the back so nobody knows you're there. And we want you to see something. So I went to MGM, and the biggest screening room there, and they had all these MGM employees that weren't producers, they weren't writers, they weren't directors, they were the security people, they were the lumber people, the prop movers and haulers, and their wives and their children. And they brought me in the back after the lights went out and the movie started. And I went through the whole movie, watched it, wondering whether I was going to live or die. And then at the very end, where Jaws goes in with the shark, it seemed like quite a long time after that, the whole underwater thing is blowing up and coming apart, and Bond is going with Anya trying to get out. And quite a bit of time went by, and I thought, I guess I, bit the dust. I'm dead, finished. And all of a sudden, they cut to the surface of the sea, and Jaws popped out of the water, and the audience and screamed and yelled. And I couldn't believe it, because that was a moment for me, the biggest moment in my career, because I knew that I finally made it big in the movies.
I think we all do really like the character of Jaws. I mean, I think he's definitely one of my favourite characters in the entire series. Do you agree?
Well, just so you don't think you're the only ones, the biggest DVD seller, retailer in Britain did a survey, a poll, and they had almost 5,000 people respond. Who is your favorite James Bond character? Not villain, but including all the villains: Goldfinger, Stromberg, Blofeld, but also Q, M, Moneypenny. Jaws got 30% of the votes. The next was 16%. So that was Q. So it was really, to me, I'm very proud of the fact that the character that Lewis and I developed together, along with Roger, being so willing to let me steal a few scenes, became so popular.
One of the things that's been discussed in this room quite a lot today, actually, is the idea of how a Bond villain works. And there was that quote we heard earlier about, give him a scar and he's instantaneously more villainous. And I think, they were obviously made in a different time than today, but if you look at a lot of the Bond villains, they are all different in some sense.
Absolutely, and they were fun villains. You look at Goldfinger, that scene where they have Bond on the gold slab and the laser beam is cutting right towards his crotch. And what did he say? Bond says something about, "What are you trying to make me talk?" And said, "We're going to kill you. We're trying to kill you." It's humorous, and even Goldfinger,
But the difference between, let's say, Jaws and Oddjob, it's obviously apparent straight away. It's about 5 feet. So I'm just wondering if at the time you felt like maybe there was a mildly exploitative element to the casting of the villains, or was it all just in fun?
Well, it wasn't meant to be a humorous character, but I felt that a guy that killed people with his teeth could become over the top, very quickly, and a little boring. And I wanted to give the character some, human qualities, because in real life, a killer, a hitman, he has a girlfriend, he has a mother, he has obviously has a mother, he wouldn't be here, and so there's always another side, and I wanted to give Jaws at least the elements of being frustrated. When his car goes off the cliff and he lands at the top of the Italian villa, give him a quality of persistence. He comes out and he's brushing off his clothes and straightening his tie, and people enjoyed that. The Italian couple was sitting there having their wine, and Mamma Mia, and Jaws comes through the roof of their house.
For me, the moment where Jaws becomes truly special, Blanche, is where you come into the picture, because it becomes a redemptive story.
Redemptive, and that's the key. And that was what these 5,000 people that responded to the survey said. They liked Jaws because he turned into a good guy. And of course, he turned into a good guy because of Dolly and Blanche. And there's a whole story about that. They wanted a 7'7" woman that they had found to play Jaws' girlfriend. And I said, guys, that just doesn't work. And anyway, they said, well, what did you have in mind, a Bond girl? And I said, yeah, that'd be nice. But if I can't have a Bond girl, how about a short woman? They said, how short? I said, at least 5 feet tall. They said, oh my God, 5 feet tall with Jaws. You think people would believe that? I said, my wife is 5'1". We have 2 children and 1 on the way. It works, So you gotta believe it. And then they brought in an actress that was about Blanche's size, but she was scared to death of me. And she was shaking, you know, and you know, there was absolutely no chemistry. And I said, Louis, you know, that woman is shaking. She's afraid. You know. Oh, he said, she's a very good actress. Don't worry, everything will be fine. So I went to the camera operator, Alec Mills, who was a good friend of Louis Gilbert's. And I said, Alex, you got to help me. You know, I've already turned down this 7'7" woman, and they're mad at me. And now, you saw that woman, she's shaking. You see, I saw that. And he said, I said, you know, she's just not the right one. And I said, I don't know what to do because Louis doesn't want to listen to me about it. Alex, I said, Alec, would you just say something to him? And he said, yeah, I'll do that. So, you know, between my saying, I don't think she's the right one, and then Alec saying the same thing, they decided to look a little further. And about 2 or 3 days later, the director, Louis Gilbert, was all excited. And he says, I want you and Diane to go see a movie. It's playing here in Paris. It's a comedy. It's all in French. But he said, there's a woman in there that I think would be just perfect. A little French actress. And he said, would you go and see it? I said, yeah. So we went to see this movie. Didn't understand a word, all in French. But it's very funny movie. And there was a farmer's wife, played by Blanche, who was having affairs with every guy in town. You know, just, people enjoyed that. And, you know, some of the real total Bond people that take it very, very seriously didn't like it as much. But the, you know, the general public was a very successful movie, box office-wise. And of course, this poll now shows that people did like it. And,
Okay, I'm going to send this microphone out for some questions from the floor, so if you want to put your hands up. I'd say I think Dolly is a particularly wonderful character because she's rare for a woman in the Bond films because she loves and is loved rather than makes love and is made love to. And it's very rare.
And you know, she actually is the person, the reason that Jaws becomes a good guy and comes to the side of Bond and helps, goes against Drax because he realizes that neither one of them are this perfect society of perfect people. You know, I'm too big, you know, she's too small, she's wearing glasses, she's not going to fit into Drax's perfect society, and all of a sudden Jaws goes, whoa, wait a minute, you know, I'm not going to get rid of my girlfriend here. And so he comes to the side of Bond and helps him to defeat Drax. And, you know, and as I explained to them, a 7'7" woman wouldn't need any help. You know, there wouldn't be the motivation for Jaws to, you know, want to change sides. And they you know, they realized that finally. Yes.
You have a very gentle handshake for a man with big hands. You go to shake hands, you almost don't think you're going to get your hand crushed, but you're a very gentle giant. If I may ask a question, a non-Bond thing, if that's permitted, because I was going to ask about Jaws, that's been answered already. But the TV series Barbary co-starred with my favourite actor, Doug Mature, and William Shatner.
I can't believe that. Oh yeah, the Barbary Coast. Actually, that was one of the reasons I got the interview for the Bond, was the Barbary Coast. It was a short-lived television series in America. William Shatner and Doug McClure. That was one of the main characters. Doug McClure's right-hand man, Cash McCall's right-hand man. And it played in Britain. You know, the BBC would buy their shows that were real cheap. And it went over quite well. And the secretary to, well, no, not the secretary, the continuity woman, June, saw that on TV and suggested to Cubby Broccoli that he interview me while he was in Los Angeles. And that's how I got the part, because of the Barbary Coast. There's a little story behind that, that's kind of like Jaws with his perseverance. I couldn't get an interview for the bar because they, in Hollywood, some agents charge 20%. They're not allowed to by the Screen Actors Guild, but they do it. And some agents kick back. Now, I'm not saying that's what was going on, but they had somebody else in mind to play this role, the casting people, and I couldn't even get to be seen. I wrote a registered letter to the director and the producer and said, your character is described as being a huge guy, and he's a doorman, ID checker, bouncer, whatever, at the Golden Gate Casino. I'm 7'2", 300 pounds. I've worked as a doorman, bouncer, at the Rag Doll, the Crossbow, the Mardi Gras Room, and I'm an actor. And I think that you deserve to see me. And I think I deserve to meet you. If you don't choose me, no hard feelings. But I can't get an interview. They got that letter, called my agent that day, so we love Richard's letter. We want to see him this afternoon. And I read for it. They said, you're great. If we can make a deal with your agent, we'll see you in front of the Golden Gate Casino. And I knew that, I shouldn't say this, but I knew that the casting people would still try to keep me out if there's any way they could do it. So I said, my agent is real easy, you won't have any problem. And which meant I probably made $500 to $1,000 a week less than I could have if I would have. So anyway, about that time the casting ladies walk in. They see me, and they're absolutely flabbergasted, they're shocked. And the producer says, this is Richard Kiel, and we would like him very much for the role of Moose Moran in the Barbary Coast. And if you can make a deal with his agent, he'll be playing that role. And he said, and by the way, Richard said his agent is really easy, so you shouldn't have any problem. So anyway, I ended up with that. And that's just one example of perseverance and how some actors succeed and some don't. The reason I got the Barbary Coast was that the director and the producers had seen The Longest Yard. And I couldn't get an interview for The Longest Yard either, because the director had told the casting director that he only wanted professional football players. And I wasn't a professional football player. So my agent got me an interview with the producer, because he'd done some casting for him, and he was 6'8". And he was real impressed with me, and he insisted that the director, Robert Aldridge, meet me. And Robert Aldridge tried to, he said, Richard, this movie's going to be shot in a little tank town on the way to Florida. There's nothing there. There's a Western Auto, a bank, nothing to do. It's going to be really boring. And we're going to be scrimmaging the football, 5-6 days a week. And we're going to be smashing helmets, and there's going to be a lot of pain. And he said, do you think you can handle the pain? And I kicked into my acting gear, and I looked at him and I said, is it okay if I hurt them? And Robert Aldridge said, oh, no, we don't want anybody getting hurt. It's just a movie. But anyway, that was, it just shows how, you really have to do what Bonds did. You can't take no for an answer. You got to do what you have to do to convince them that you're the right person. And it was funny, I guess that Robert Aldridge had a bad experience with an actor that when he was doing The Dirty Dozen, not being able to handle the pain of doing that movie. And did the round table reading, there was a guy who was a bodybuilder. And he was like right to my left. And I looked at the script, and I'm playing a bodybuilder. George Sampson Granada, Mr. Florida. And this guy next to me is a bodybuilder. And I looked at his script, and it said Bruno. I looked, Bruno. He's the guy that kills the cows in the slaughterhouse. So I said to the AD, I think I'm supposed to be Bruno, he's supposed to be Samson, the bodybuilder. No. I said, you're Samson, he's Bruno. Okay. Well, to make a long story short, Robert Aldish had a good reason for telling us about all the main film.
Yeah?
And one of the voices.
You are? Which one?
The movie's based on the Grimm fairy tale Rapunzel, but they changed the name to make it more contemporary, and they call it Tangled. And I played the part of the voice for Vladimir, or Vlad. It was kind of like, if you think of a biker bar a couple hundred years ago, they didn't have bikes, but the kind of characters would hang out at the biker bar. And I'm like the biggest, toughest, but with a big heart, and it's fun.
With a big heart, I think you'll agree with me that these guys actually gave James Bond a big heart in Moonraker. It's one of my favourite moments in the entire run, and I'd like to thank you both very much for joining us this afternoon.
Well, the executive producer of this film is a big Bond fan, and that's how I got the part, because he wanted me to be in his movie.
And we'll be able to see that around about December time, I believe. Tangled is at December.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving? Oh yeah, that's in the States.
Unless I don't get it done in time, it'll be Christmas.
Okay, well thank you very much, Richard Kiel.
Thank you.
Commercials, and then progress from there to sort of freelance films that were going outside of the major studios, and then went on from there. Yeah. The first film I worked on was a horror film over at Grimsdyke House called The Curse of the Crimson Altar, where we were working on there as an assistant prop man. The prop master, he runs the prop. I run the prop department. I take my instructions from set designer and supervising architect and the set decorator. And the design, he obviously designs the sets, and then the supervising art director, he works through from there, and it's his job to push all the sets forward, but every time that's up.
All the Bond props and the films done over there. Raffle from Ronnie Trust. Sorry about the right thing, it's quite annoying. 3D, details, fair enough from Russian as well. Typical C. So never again. Chris Brosnan done. Signed. Some golden light. All that's loads of stuff around here. So James Bond collection with a P99. Guys. Sweet. It's mini me. Pet Master and the Mini Me. Classic stuff. Loads of stuff around here, ain't there? Loads of stuff.